So there's consensus that a police state has formed, or at least is forming. What does reversing one look like? Because it seems to me, based on my limited knowledge of history, that reversing a police state is typically very violent and difficult.
It's extremely difficult. I mean, I'm actually doing a little series on Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago on my podcast. And, at some point, the police state, the jaws shut. And the only thing you can do, and this is if you can get away with it, is run. At some point, resistance becomes largely futile. And think about it. The Russian people endured this for 70 years before it all fell apart. And so this is a very dangerous thing we're talking about. I don't think we're there yet. And so that's why this movie, I've likened it to a kind of animal giving a warning about the rest of the herd, that there's like a cheetah, that's approaching, and don't be complacent. So there are things that we can still do while time remains. And that's really the purpose for making this film. If I can mention, the film is in hundreds of theaters on just 2 days, October 23rd, October 25th. And there's only one place to get tickets, which is policestatefilm.net. So you can put in your zip code or your state, boom, all the theaters will come up. And it's a really fun film to see in the theater. And it's a fun film to see with like-minded people. So go with your family or friends or, a church group, or go with your conservative buddies. And it's going to be a really wrenching and yet eye-opening experience.
You mentioned that it's not too late, and you sort of implied that's one of the reasons for making this film was to sort of raise awareness and get people active, preventing the full-fledged police state from manifesting. What are some things that we can actually do as American citizens? What can the listeners actually do to prevent what feels, at least at a zeitgeist level, like this sort of inevitable force?
Well, one thing we can do is pressure our own side to fully use its power. Republicans, by and large, and conservatives tend to be, we're people of principle. And so we say, oh, well, the left is acting in this gangsterish fashion. We're not going to do the same thing because we're not like them. We're better than them. Now, the problem with that is that we're confronted with somebody who's a bully that's stamping on our feet and punching us on the playground. And writing a strongly worded op-ed in National Review Online is not going to deter the bully. You have to stamp on his feet. You've got to show power. You've got to show that ultimately we can do to you what you're doing to us. And so to some degree, we're forced, I think, reluctantly into a position where Republican attorneys general and secretaries of state have got to be more vigilant in indicting Democrats and holding them to account and using the same kind of weapons of RICO and so on against them. The moment